Hello class, I have a bad hair day today, so I'm not going to be recording this screencast of my face. I hope everybody can hear me fine though. You won't have to look at my ugly mug for this quick lecture. So anyway, today we're going to go over thesis statements, what they are and how they function in your writing. One of the things that we've noticed across many of your first drafts in the Why Counseling essay is that they're unfocused. They kind of drift from topic to topic, life experience to life experience, without providing any real clear framework which tie all the ideas together, all your reasons for wanting to become a counselor. They're not organized. The easiest way to add structure to your essay is to articulate a clear thesis statement at the beginning of your paper and to begin each paragraph of that paper with a strong topic sentence that somehow ties back to your thesis statement. So let's begin. Okay, so probably the most important thing you can learn about writing from this course is how to create a clear thesis statement, and then to support it in an organized way. A paper with an overly broad or poorly defined thesis statement, or worse, a paper which lacks a thesis statement altogether, is never going to be successful. Not in this class or in any other class. Every essay that you write should have a clearly articulated thesis statement somewhere near the end of your first paragraph. This thesis statement is essentially a one-sentence summary of what you are trying to prove or demonstrate or show your reader. It's the purpose for which you're writing the paper. Everything you include in your paper should exist to support this thesis statement, to provide evidence and examples, to qualify it in some way, or to describe it in some way, but also to prove it, to demonstrate it. Your paper should be trying to prove something. It should be making an argument. Anything that does not serve that argument, that distracts from it, or that changes the topic, should not be in your paper. So I recommend writing a thesis statement at the beginning of the writing process after you have conducted your research, but before you have started drafting the paper itself. Then remember this thesis statement as you write. This will help you remain on topic and help you to avoid including anything that's extraneous or unrelated to your argument. So, in your reading and discussion board for this week, you will be going over 2 articles on what is a good thesis statement. These articles are from, I think one is from UNC, the other is from a writing website. But in general, they agree that a thesis statement should be thoughtful, controversial, specific, compelling, and supportable by the evidence that you have. Let's start with considered. It's not something that came up as much in the writing as it should have, but I think it's important to emphasize that the first thing you have to do before you even write a thesis statement is conduct research. The first step to writing a strong thesis statement for an academic essay is reading carefully over your subject and researching it and coming to a conclusion on it. This is the longest step of the thesis writing process, but you can't skip it. Going back to they say, I say, it's important to understand the state of the academic conversation, the state of the research, before you interject your own opinion. In this case, before you write a thesis statement, summarizing and presenting your own views on the subject. And an opinion is kind of what your thesis statement is. It's a well-researched, carefully considered opinion, which you will defend over the course of your paper. You won't present it as an opinion. You don't have to say, I believe that so-and-so. You want to state it strongly. But, it's helpful to consider that your thesis statement is what you are adding to the conversation. It's your unique contribution to the state of the current research. So, the first step is to read carefully, to take good notes, and to make sure that you understand the issue from all sides before you take a specific stand on it. Before you write a thesis, you need to consider, have I done enough research to write a thoughtful thesis statement yet? Do I know enough to have an opinion? Can I defend that opinion? The second aspect of a successful thesis statement is that a successful thesis statement is controversial. It takes some sort of a stand. There should be people in your audience, people reading your paper, who might disagree with what you've just said, people who you will be trying to persuade in the body of your essay. Remember they say, I say's conversation example. Imagine that you walk into a room where a long, impassioned argument has been going on about something important. Because this is a counseling school, let's say it's about the prescription of antidepressants and psychiatric interventions. One side is arguing that antidepressants are life-saving medications with a deep body of peer-reviewed empirical research supporting their use, while the other is arguing that the current prescription of antidepressants is excessive and that experimental data on their efficacy is unconvincing. If you just walked into the middle of that conversation and said something anodyne and bland and boring like, well, I see both sides of the argument, and I think that there are both benefits and drawbacks to the use of antidepressants, everyone would look at you and say, duh, nobody could possibly disagree with that. Why are you even saying it? A thesis statement should be controversial. It should argue something. It should defend something that somebody else could conceivably disagree with. You should be assertive in your thesis statement. So, thesis statement should be specific. It should not be overly broad. It should be specific to your paper. Your paper needs to come up with a clear and specific thesis statement so that it's not overly broad. Here's an example of a bad thesis statement. Mental health care helps people overcome addiction. That is just too broad for any for your paper to be useful at all. Not only will you not be able to really, not only is it not specific enough or precise enough so that it's almost impossible to either prove or disprove, it's also going to be just beyond the scope of any paper that you're going to be able to write. You need to make a precise claim about a specific topic. So instead of saying something like mental health care helps people overcome addiction, argue something like cognitive behavior therapy is one of the best therapeutic conventions for treating clients suffering from alcoholism because it teaches clients to recognize and confront the cognitive distortions caused by addiction and to develop practical strategies for overcoming them. Do you see how the second thesis statement is specific? It argues something that you can conceivably prove or demonstrate in the body of your essay. It's not overly broad, focuses on a single population, focuses on a single therapeutic intervention, and it goes from there. It's something that somebody could also conceivably argue with. People might be able to, adduce evidence indicating that CBT is not the most effective therapeutic intervention for treating clients suffering from alcoholism. It's something that people could argue. It's contributing to an argument. It's something that someone could disagree with. It's specific, and considering how much research you've done, it might be well supported by the data. Who knows? You'd have to demonstrate that in the body of your paper. Okay, another thing is your thesis statement should be compelling. As one of your handouts says, I think it's the one from UNC, it should pass the so what test. This is tricky because the goal is not to make your topic artificially relevant to your reader. Often you'll be writing papers on something that's pretty highly specialized. You're not trying to dumb things down for your reader or make things exciting or entertaining, but you want to give a sense of why what you're saying should matter. You're not just saying things, you're analyzing them, you're examining your conclusions. You're showing how you're contributing to a current argument, why your contribution is important. Finally, a thesis statement should be supportable. It should be supportable by the evidence, by the research you've done. You should be able to defend it. It doesn't matter how specific or engaging or argumentative or spicy or well-written your thesis statement is. If you can't defend it in the body of your paper, it's a bad thesis statement. You could come up with all kinds of provocative, memorable thesis statements that just you would never be able to prove, never be able to demonstrate, either because you lack the expertise or because they're just wrong. It's not enough to say something in an interesting way, in a compelling way. It's got to be true. It's got to be supported by the research, and that's part of the research process. You're going to be reviewing research and trying to figure out, trying to develop a thesis statement based on the hours of research you've spent examining a specific topic. Okay, so you'll have the opportunity to get some practice on writing and evaluating thesis statements for your discussion board 4. Let's go over briefly some different kinds of thesis statements. So I know that there's there are different kinds of thesis statements that you might write for different kinds of essays. So for your personal narrative essay, it's going to be less important that it's particularly argumentative. People are not going to be arguing with your experience. You're not trying to necessarily persuade someone that you're right and they're wrong. You're trying to convey a specific experience. So for most of your why counseling essays fall into this kind of personal narrative example. So in any case, though, you're trying to, with your thesis statement for a personal narrative, you're still introducing a controlling idea for the paper, which everything is going to tie back to. So one example of a thesis statement for a personal narrative essay would be, I know what it is like to feel hopeless and what it is like to find healing through mental health care. And now I want to offer that healing to others as a licensed professional counselor. It may be a little bland, but it outlines some of the reasons that you want to reasons why you've chosen counseling as a career field. It introduces some of the ideas that you're going to find later in the paper, and it succinctly summarizes your reasons for becoming a licensed professional counselor, why you've chosen the field of counseling. So for a literature review of the kind that you're going to be writing later in the semester, you might write a thesis statement that goes somewhat like this. The best available current research indicates that compulsive social media use is one of the primary risk factors for the later development of body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, as well as eating disorders like anorexia nervosa among teenage girls. So on a literature review, remember we spoke to this in our last lecture. A literature review is you're less concerned with giving your own specific opinion, your own specific thesis on a subject, but in summarizing the state of the research. So here you're summarizing in broad terms the conclusions of most of the research that you've unearthed. This is an example thesis statement. I don't know if it really is supportable by the evidence or not, but it's a succinct one-sentence summary of the main thrust of the research. So if you began with a research question as to whether or not social media use was really correlated or correlated with body dysmorphic disorders or eating disorders, this thesis statement answers that question. It answers yes, current research does indicate that there's a connection. It may even be a causal connection. Okay, and then finally for a persuasive essay example. This would be an essay where you're trying to advance your own point and you're trying to persuade your reader that your point is, and you're trying to persuade your reader of your thesis statement. So this thesis statement would be, while it has become commonplace in popular media to blame violent video games for delinquency in young men, these games actually help to reduce teenage crime by providing players with an outline for their aggressive impulses. This is another good thesis statement. It's fairly specific. It introduces the issue at stake. It shows you why it matters. It reflects on that issue. And it takes a stand on one side or the other. It doesn't just kind of blandly, toe the middle. Okay, so again, a summary. Write a thesis statement first after you have finished your research, but before you begin writing your essay. You should have a clear idea of what it is that you are trying to demonstrate in the body of your essay before you start the drafting process. If you are ever concerned that your thesis statement is not clear enough or not good enough, send it to one of us first. We will review that thesis statement for you and let you know if it seems strong or if it seems weak and where you can improve. Another thing is to remember, avoid weakening phrases such as, in my opinion. State your thesis with confidence. State it as if you know it to be the truth, because you do. You've given research. You've spent hours conducting research on your topic. So be confident in the statement of your research. Leave stuff like "in my opinion" or "I think" or "I believe" out of your thesis statement. Finally, keep your thesis statement in mind throughout the entire writing process. As you are writing your essay, think to yourself at the beginning of every paragraph, every sentence, does this support my thesis statement somehow? Is it useful to my argument? Will it help my reader understand what I mean better? If it doesn't, leave it out. Extraneous details should be cut from your paper. That's one thing that we noticed in the why counseling essays. Often a story would be introduced or an anecdote would be introduced, but it would never be tied back to the central question, which is, why have you chosen counseling as a career? It just kind of hung there, out there to dry. That would be fine in a conversation, maybe, but in an essay, every aspect of that essay should serve your reader by showing your reader, by proving to your reader your thesis statement, or showing to your reader why that thesis statement matters. You don't have room for extra fluff in your essays. Okay. So, just as thesis statements form the controlling idea for an entire paper, topic sentences serve as the controlling idea for each paragraph. We'll talk a little bit more about how to construct a paragraph in future lectures, but for now we'll just review topic sentences and how to create them. So, a paragraph is a collection of sentences that's conceptually linked somehow, that's unified by a common purpose, a common idea. Most of your paragraphs should be about 4 to 7 sentences in length, or about half a page. As a rule of thumb, you want to keep your paragraphs to this length, and only deviate when you absolutely have to. Often, a paragraph that's too long is a sign that your writing has become unfocused, that you've started to introduce extra elements to your paper that aren't necessary. If your paragraph is too short, it's likely that you're not saying anything important, or that you're not supporting what you're saying. You're just asserting. You're not providing any kind of evidence for that assertion or demonstration of that assertion. Each paragraph, though, whatever its length, should have a controlling idea which holds it together. This idea will be introduced at the beginning of the paragraph in the topic sentence and defended or demonstrated in the body of the paragraph. The idea for the paragraph will be expressed in your topic sentence, and everything else in that paragraph should serve that topic sentence somehow. All of your paragraphs should be unified by an idea, unified by an argument which ties back to your thesis statement somehow. Okay, so just as thesis statements provide a controlling idea for an entire paper, a topic sentence provides a controlling idea for your body paragraphs. Just like a thesis statement, your topic sentence should be focused on one central idea or argument, which you will go on to demonstrate in the rest of your paragraph. So, a topic sentence should be specific, not general or broad. It should be arguable. It should be considered, that is, supported by your research. And everything in your paragraph should relate in some way to your topic sentence, just as everything in your paper should relate in some way to your thesis statement. Just as your thesis statement prepares your reader for what they will encounter in the body of your paper, your topic sentences prepare your reader for what they will encounter in each paragraph. A topic sentence should do two things. It should provide your readers with a smooth transition from the previous paragraph while introducing the new information which your paragraph will cover. It should also connect in some way to the thesis statement of the entire essay. Each topic sentence should clearly prepare the reader for what he or she will encounter in the body of the paragraph. It should link backwards to the main idea of the paper and to the preceding paragraphs while introducing new information. So one of the articles you're assigned to read this week is Gopin and Swan's The Science of Scientific Writing, which introduces a new framework for how to write with the reader in mind. Gopin and Swan's basic idea is that good writing takes into account the expectations of the reader. Your reader will expect your essays to flow in a certain way. For example, they will expect to find a thesis statement toward the end of the introductory paragraph, and they will expect that each of the body paragraphs begin with a topic sentence that begins with a transition from the previous paragraph and ends with the introduction of new information. As Gopin writes, we emphasize material which arrives at the end of the sentence. What arrives at the end of your topic sentence provides closure, relief to your reader, and that's where you need to put the new information that you're about to be introducing in your body paragraph. We remember the last thing that we hear better than the first. Each topic sentence should not be a bolt out of the blue. It should connect in some way to what we've already heard before in the preceding paragraph and in the thesis statement. So, in general, the beginning of your topic sentence should provide some connection with what's come before, some transition. And the end of your topic sentence that begins each paragraph should introduce the new information that you want the reader to emphasize, the new information which you are going to argue for and present in the body of that paragraph. Okay, so one place you can go to help find some transitional words, some templates to help you with your transition are the appendixes in Graf and Birkenstein. Here you can find a number of transition words provided. They provide a handy list. This list, of course, is not comprehensive, but sometimes if I'm having a hard time writing or constructing my argument, it helps to go back to the templates that Graf and Birkenstein present and to conceivably use some of those. So you have addition transition words like also or and or besides or furthermore, in addition, etc. You have elaboration words, actually, by extension, in other words, in short, that is. You have example transition words such as after all, as an illustration, consider, or for example. You have comparison, you have cause and effect, you have transition words which heighten the contrast with the ideas presented in the previous paragraph, or that present some kind of conclusion tying up those ideas. Go through and read in the index of templates some of these transition words, and it'll help you smooth transitions throughout your paragraph, throughout your paper, between paragraphs. Okay, so let's look at some examples of thesis statements and topic sentences and how those topic sentences might relate to a thesis statement in a persuasive essay. So here's a thesis statement which we covered earlier. Cognitive behavior therapy is one of the best therapeutic interventions for treating clients suffering from alcoholism because it teaches clients to recognize and confront the cognitive distortions caused by addiction and to develop practical strategies for overcoming them. Okay, so that, as we discussed earlier, is not a perfect thesis statement, but it's a pretty good thesis statement because it's specific and it's arguable. Your topic sentences then should relate some way to that thesis statement. So, and they should flow in kind of a logical order. So you might start by talking about the ways in which alcoholism inculcates certain mindsets in alcoholics, certain patterns of thinking, how it changes the cognitive processes of alcoholics. So the topic sentence number 1 could be, research has shown that alcoholism changes the thought processes of alcoholics by altering the regions of the brain which process memory, judgment, and self-control, while introducing strong feelings of dependence and hopelessness. Then you would spend the rest of that paragraph talking specifically about what research you're referring to, and providing more details for how alcohol dependence changes the brain of alcoholics, what specific thought processes it alters, and just providing more detail, providing more examples, fleshing things out a bit. Topic sentence for your second body paragraph would connect back to that first paragraph while introducing a new idea. So let's go read it. You've already introduced alcoholism. Now you're introducing CBT as a potential treatment for alcoholics. So you might write a sentence something like this. Because alcoholism causes changes to the thought processes of alcoholics, CBT strikes directly at the root of the problem because it addresses these negative mindsets directly and so prevents them from resulting in harmful actions. Do you see how this topic sentence links back not only to your thesis statement, which would be presented in your introduction or near the beginning of your paper, but it also connects back to your first topic sentence. Your first paragraph is about alcoholism, about the changes that it imparts on the minds of alcoholics. Your second body paragraph connects backwards to what you've just talked about, to alcoholism, while presenting new information about CBT and introducing why you think it is that CBT is an effective therapeutic intervention. The rest of your second body paragraph would be devoted to fleshing out those ideas, to showing the ways in which CBT actually addresses negative mindsets, citing research, providing sources, examples, etc. But those are how those topic sentences might function in the body of a persuasive essay on alcoholism and cognitive behavioral therapy. Remember to keep things unified. Everything in your first body paragraph should tie back to the topic sentence for that paragraph. And everything in your second body paragraph should tie back to the topic sentence of the second body paragraph. Everything must be unified. You must reflect on the information that you present in your topic sentence within that paragraph. Don't introduce new or unrelated information to your reader, or your reader won't understand why they're reading your paper. Okay, so for a personal narrative essay, that thesis statement might be somewhat looser. So let's take the example of the thesis statement we talked about earlier. I know what it is like to feel hopeless and what it is like to find healing through mental health care, and now want to offer that healing to others as a licensed professional counselor. I see I used now twice in that sentence, so it's redundant. Sorry about that. Also, as a note, I'm not taking anybody's, this example is not based on anybody's why counseling essay, and just as a note for this course, we would never share any personal information that you divulge in an essay as an example in class or with any other students or anybody else who's not teaching the class. So, just if you share personal experiences, just know that we will protect your privacy. This example is not based on anybody's paper for this class. So, let's say your first topic sentence for the first body paragraph, you might talk a little bit about what it's like to feel hopeless, the first part of your thesis statement. This thesis statement is not argumentative. It's not something that anybody could really challenge because you're talking about your personal experience, but it still kind of outlines the territory that you're going to be covering in the body of your paper. So, topic sentence number 1, depression and anxiety run, again, another typo, sorry. Depression and anxiety run in my family. Throughout my childhood, I witnessed many people close to me suffer from mental illness, and even though I wanted to help, I lacked the tools and knowledge to do so effectively. When I was 14, I began to struggle with these feelings myself, feelings that spiraled out of control when I lost a close friend in a boating accident. So here the topic sentence is actually 2 topic sentences. You introduce the... Sorry, I had a Skype call I had to decline. One moment. So here the topic sentence for your first body paragraph is actually 2 topic sentences. It's a little bit more loose than you might. It's a form that's a little bit more loose than you might adopt in a persuasive essay, but you're still introducing this basic idea that something from your past. It's kind of narrative and focus, but it's going to introduce the childhood experiences, your experiences growing up, and experiences with mental illness, depression and anxiety in this case, in this case, which you'll discuss throughout the body of this paper, body of this essay. Sorry. So your second topic sentence links back to the first topic sentence. It says, despite their struggles, it had never occurred to anyone in my family to seek therapy, so when I finally began to receive counseling for my undiagnosed depression, I was suspicious at first. So this topic sentence introduces the idea of your second body paragraph. It introduces more details that you're going to include about your experiences in counseling and how those experiences made you how those experiences provided healing. So you can kind of see in a personal narrative essay, even though the topic sentences and the thesis statements are less argumentative, they're more narrative, they're still conceptually connected. Each paragraph should be united by a specific set of ideas, by a specific set of circumstances and experiences, and you should introduce those circumstances or those ideas in your topic sentence, even for your why counseling essay, which has more of an informal narrative structure. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions about this week's lecture. I've also included a link to a lecture Dagan, my predecessor, created on how to build a paragraph that I think is going to be useful this week. But again, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns about anything. Bye, and good luck on this week's assignments.